Behind the Beats with Jess Bowen and Bowie Jane.
Hello, it's Bowie Jane and Jess Bowen for Babes Behind the Beats. G'day, Jess. We are back in quarantine.
We are back in quarantine, Bowie. Good morning. We're doing a morning one right now. This is actually the earliest I think we've ever recorded.
I know,
right?
So that's why we are drinking coffee.
We've got our coffees.
Yes, and today we have a really exciting guest. We have Amanda Davis, who is Janelle Monáe and Tegan and Sara's sound engineer.
Yes. Oh my God. I'm so excited to chat with her. I feel like there's just not, this is something that we say, I feel like often when it comes to like producers and stuff as well, there's not enough females that I've ever seen doing like front of house or doing sound for that matter.
Every gig I've done, it's been a male sound engineer. I'm trying to think if I've ever had a female even. I know you've worked with some female sound engineers, but not many.
No, and that wasn't till I started working with Tessa Violet that we had female sound engineers. Shout out to Jess Jacobs and Fiona Riches. But for the most part in my career, especially when I was in the Somerset and any other, artists that I've played with, even with Alice Glass, it's been male sound engineers.
That's right. I guess because it's a bit of a tech job and generally there are less girls in tech jobs, I'd say. It's probably evening out a bit more now. But yeah, it's like the job is so tech driven. And for those who don't know what maybe a sound engineer does, they're the person making the sound balanced or making sure the microphones don't feedback. The sound that's coming out of the speakers, that's what you're hearing. They're controlling that.
Yeah, they're making us sound good, I always say a good sound engineer. I mean, band could be shit musicians, but hey, you got a good sound engineer and you can pull it off.
Oh, so true. So important because, like, for example, if you had a bad sound engineer or maybe no sound engineer, you might only be able to hear the drums or you might only be able to hear the vocal. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, and Janelle Monáe has a 9-piece band. For those who don't know Janelle Monáe, incredible artist. I think most people know who she is, but maybe not.
I imagine most people do, but yeah, she is incredible and a 9-piece band. So I'm interested to ask Amanda about how it is because with a 9-piece band, the amount of inputs that she would have for a show is probably very large. So I'm wondering how stressful that would be for her because also as a sound engineer, you're like, if you have an input, like 50 input list, you're working with 50 lines that you have to get mixed on a soundboard to deal with. And if you're like crunched for time, if it's at a festival, you only have 15 minutes sometimes for changeover.
Oh, that's the thing. And you're dealing with whatever setup the sound engineer before has been using. So you're jumping on a desk that maybe is a mess. Maybe the sound engineer who was on before didn't know what they were doing, or maybe they just had a weird setup. You've got to quickly, there's a lot of pressure being a sound engineer.
Yeah.
To quickly get things right.
Yeah. And I'm sure luckily for her though, too, at her level, I mean, they travel with their own soundboard, for instance, for like their headlining shows or for like their own shows. But yeah, for a festival, I mean, you're pretty much just getting on whatever they have there, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, she would be lucky enough to be taking her own console, I imagine. It'd be interesting to know if for festivals is she jumping on other people's gear all the time.
Yeah. I am interested to know that too, because at that level, I'm like, I wonder what Janelle Monáe's team does. That's a whole different level, what I'm used to seeing. Of course, for like my band, when we were playing, it was like, you just got to fucking do whatever.
Yeah.
you roll with whatever you got, So, but that's a totally different level.
There's also different roles for the sound engineer. There's the A1, the A2, there's the monitors person. So like the monitors is what the person on stage is hearing back. And so someone will be, for a really big gig, someone will be controlling that. Obviously, the smaller the gig and the smaller the band, you're not having a person for all these roles. But
right.
Janelle Monáe is pretty huge. So.
Yeah, so I'm interested. I think I saw that she did monitors for R. Kelly. So I'm definitely wanting to ask about that. But yeah, it's a totally different role. That's more like pleasing the band on stage is what you need to do as the monitor person.
Oh yeah, making them feel good so that if you sound good in your ears, fantastic. Yeah. You feel like you've done a great gig.
There could be literally no sound going into the front of house, but if on stage, I've had times where I'm like, damn, yeah, this sounds good. And they'll be like, there's nothing going through the house. This is just your ears.
Oh my God. And so tell me, what's your preference in your ears?
In my ears?
By the way, when I say in your ears, for those who may not know, Jess will have in-ear monitors. So she'll have an earpiece in her ear, which is giving her what she's playing, or she might want the vocals or whatever coming through her ears so she can play drums.
Right. So like I have these in-ear monitors. I have Ultimate ears that are custom made to fit fit literally into my ear only. I can ask for whatever I want. So my typical mix, I'll say what I just get nowadays. My typical mix is as much click track, because I'm a drummer, I need to stay on time. So I'm getting that click track like blasted in my ears. Usually I'll ask for all the backing tracks to be like a pretty fair level, like right underneath the click track. So I'm hearing all those backing tracks. And then I like a bit of the vocal, so I know where we are in the song. And then a good amount of bass. And then for drums, I really only ask for a little bit of kick and snare. And that's it.
I think we've chatted about it before. Is that a normal setup for a drummer to not have a heap of your own drums?
I don't think it's normal. I imagine most drummers like to hear everything. Maybe not overheads. And when I say overheads, I mean like your cymbals, because those are going to sound like shh all the time in your ears. So you definitely want those to not be there for the most part. So yeah, I mean, of course you want to hear a little bit of your toms so that you can hear all your fills and some hi-hat as well. But I think for me, I just got so used to being like, as long as I get a little of kick and snare and as long as I hear the click track and the backing tracks, I'm good. That's all I really, really care about.
Yeah, see, all these funny little things the sound engineer has to deal with. So every person on stage will have their own like preference.
Everyone's different. And of course the singers are like, I need to hear me. I need to hear me the most, which is important. But they're always like, turn me up more. Can you turn me up more?
Yeah, that's right. And doing a soft sound check so they turn you right up and then...
Yeah.
Well, I can't wait to chat with her because she's really a bit of an inspiration in the industry, I think, for someone as a female to be working in such a high-profile job. So I can't wait to chat with her next. Today we have Amanda Davis. I am so excited to chat with her. Welcome to the show, Amanda, sound engineer for Janelle Monáe and Tegan and Sara, and a number of other things. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
I'm so excited to chat with you and just to get to know how you got to where you are today, because Bowie and I were just kind of discussing before we got on the line with you how it's still pretty rare these days, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like since I've been on tour, I don't feel like I see very many female front of house or monitor engineers in this industry. Do you feel you're kind of like one of a kind still?
Nowadays, I don't feel so much like a one of a kind because I've been doing it for 7 years now. Well, 8 years, yeah. I've kind of opened up a whole door of trying to find other women, and it's like, oh, okay, I'm not alone. So, you have like sound girls, people like you and Bowie, and it's just been a whirlwind of discovery of different women out here doing it on different levels. I will say on maybe a Janelle level or above, I don't see a lot of women at the front of house position.
Yeah, that's interesting. At the higher level, like at the big gigs, you're not seeing it.
Yeah, on the big gigs, I'm not seeing it at all.
But that's amazing. Like you said, you've kind of almost paved this pathway then by you kind of taking the initiative to bring in other females because you are at that high level. And so now you're kind of like bringing all these females with you. Yeah?
Yeah, it's like, we could do it too, and very qualified because we've been doing it on a lower level and just kind of busting our butts to get to the next level. So it's just about opportunity at this point, because it's not a matter of can I handle it or not. It's just give me the opportunity. Especially like for me, in my experience, my very first tour was with the likes of a Janelle Monáe. Like I had never toured before I got that gig.
Wow.
And with an artist like her, you don't have a choice but to like be on your A game, or you just got to do it.
You just got to jump in and do it.
Right. Yeah, right. Right. So you have no choice.
Who were you working with before Janelle Monáe?
I was on a cruise ship.
Wow. I've done the cruise ship. I've done the DJ gig on the cruise ship. So I was on Royal Caribbean. So I know exactly that gig because I was always dealing with the sound engineer.
Yep. I was the audio tech I was with Carnival Cruise Lines, and I was a sound tech on 2 different ships. I got assigned one ship and I was on there for maybe a month and a half, 2 months. And then they reassigned me to a bigger ship, and I just finished out my contract on there. And I had actually finished my first contract and had like a couple weeks to go back to do a second one, and I got the call, go out with Janelle.
So if that was your first gig on the ship, because my first gig on the ship literally was a shit show. I didn't know who I was dealing with. I landed on the ship and then I was gigging within 2 hours.
Right.
And I was like, who's the sound engineer? I don't understand what's going on. Like, what is going on? Like, was it like that for you?
Yeah, it was different for me because they actually have, I forget the term they use, but they have a person there that the audio tech who was there on the ship before, they stay extra week or two, I think, to kind of train you on, just to change it over and to hand it over to you. So it wasn't that bad, but once that person is gone, you are literally the only person because the managers are mostly AV guys. Like, they don't really know a lot about audio. They know enough to get that job, but like to really help you in doing your job successfully and efficiently to take it to the next level is just all on you.
Yeah, and these gigs on the cruise ship, they're big productions, a lot of them.
Huge.
So you don't realize until you get there, you're like, oh my God, this is like a whole city floating on the water. Like, they're big gigs.
For me, the first ship I was on was only a 5-piece band. And then when I got transferred, I went to a 10-piece band, full horn section, rhythm section. Yeah. And I was like, I was blessed before I had been hitting the pavement hard in Atlanta, like mixing at different clubs and just trying to, just hustling, really trying to just working and get the experience in. So I had a little experience with dealing with horns and trying to figure that out. But it was definitely a learning experience for me and a growing experience.
For someone like me, because I've actually, to be honest with you, I've actually never even been on a cruise. My question is, you are literally just the designated person for every artist that's on the boat or like that performs?
Well, no artist really comes on except for like comedians or and it just depends on the ship. If it is like a musical artist, you will know like maybe a week in advance if it's going to be that type of thing and you can plan for it. Like when we went to Hawaii, there was a band that came on and I got noticed like a week before. So I just planned it out of my mind how I was going to mic them up and handle that show.
Right.
So it's not quite like headache or a frantic thing, like a festival or something you just kind of throw and go. You don't know what you're doing. I mean, you're still on a ship, so you're just limited to what you have.
Gotcha. But you still reach out to the artists, like they put you in contact so you can be aware of how many inputs you need or mics and all that stuff.
Right. Or at least what instruments they'll be bringing and I'll figure out how to run it. Yeah.
But the other weird thing is there will be 5 venues going at once. So, well, that was on our ship. And so, like, if you need the sound engineer, if something was going wrong, they might already be at a different gig that's happening at another club. And I was like, oh my God, I've got no sound. Like,
I know with Carnival, we had ship phones. And if you were like the tech on duty has the phone. So you just kind of call that phone if you need help or whatever. But like I said, you're the only audio person on the ship. And I was responsible for at least the maintenance of every venue on the ship.
That's a huge responsibility.
Yeah, and making sure everything is working and up and running for whatever is going to happen for that night or day in those venues. But if a show is going on in the main venue and in like one of the smaller lounges, then the smaller lounge would get one of the other like AV guys that could handle it because it'll maybe just a comedian or it's another performer that's on the ship that's probably like a singer-songwriter type deal, guitar and just voice. So that's a little easier for the AV guys to handle. So they'll handle them in the smaller lounges and I'll be in the main venue.
So, Amanda, you've gone from these amazing gigs on the cruise ship and having a whole lot of responsibility, but that was your first gig out apart from some hustling on the ground. How did you get into the music industry? I know you've got a degree in vocal, is that right?
Yeah, I went to Roosevelt University in Chicago College of Performing Arts in Chicago, obviously, and studied vocal performance, classical vocal performance. So I was studying to be a opera singer. I tried my hand at it, basically, auditions and trying to, singing at different churches once I graduated. And I just was like, I don't really want to do this anymore. But I still want to do music. And I had a friend that went to Roosevelt with me who left Roosevelt and went to SAE to study engineering. And he was in Atlanta doing fairly well, had really cool internships and working at studios. So I just literally took a leap of faith and enrolled in SAE's audio technology diploma program, which was literally 10 years ago in January. I started at SAE January 2010. And yeah, I just put the time in. I was there every day because I felt like I didn't know anything. I had no idea what a compressor was or a gain pot or like nothing. I just like, I was a singer. So I sang into microphones, but I had no idea how it worked. So I just put in the time and I was there every day and I just kind of fell in love with it. I was like, oh, this is super cool. Now I see how the education has helped me as far as studying voice. Now I'm back in the studio. This is crazy. Like 10 years later, full circle, I work in a studio here in Memphis and using the education I have as a vocal major to help vocalists in different sessions and stuff. And that's just kind of how I started in SAE. And, you know, at SAE, you have the opportunity to bring in people to, you know, just kind of hone the skills. I just really liked it. I liked being in the studio. The plan was to kind of like become a mix engineer, not so much be a tracking engineer. Because after a while, I did kind of get bored of doing that. That's how I got into engineering. I just didn't want to sing anymore.
Was the SAE course, what was involved in that? Like, how many years is it and what did you learn? What are sort of the subjects, perhaps?
It's 9 months for the diploma program. And then you can, if you wanted to go an extra 3 months, you could get an associate's degree. The curriculum is very studio-based. So you're mainly trained to be a studio engineer. I had 4 days of live sound.
Oh, my God, really?
Yeah.
So like
now the curriculum is different. They have 2 weeks, I think, of live sound, but at that time, that's it. So my live sound career has really been a lot of on-the-job learning.
How did the Janelle Monáe gig come about then? Because that is obviously a huge gig. Seriously, one of the biggest, really.
It's funny. I'm a believer in God. It was all his hand because I can't make this type of thing happen. I went to high school with Janelle's tour and production manager, and at the time, also her MD. Her MD played the piano in the high school choir that I was in. So, yeah, so we all already had the relationship there. And my plan, like I said earlier, like it was 2 weeks before I was supposed to go back on the ship. And I honestly did not want to go back on the ship. I wanted to figure out how to tour because at that time I had realized that was an opportunity for me. I didn't know that touring could be a viable career or even something that I could look into. Like that was never, I don't know, I just wasn't ever exposed to it. And that's why I'm so passionate about it now, to just expose other girls to the fact that you can have this career. Because I didn't know myself. I was like, you know, early 20s just trying to be in a studio or work these local clubs or, you know, church gig. I didn't know like, oh, I could go on tour. I don't know how it popped in my head. Like, I just wanted to talk to my friend Jeff, who's Janelle's tour and production manager, how to get my foot in the door as far as being on a touring crew. But he ended up calling me first and saying, hey, Janelle just sat us down, was like, I want a woman on my crew. I know you haven't toured before, but I know you learn fast and you'll be a great listener and take direction well. Send me your resume. And I was like, you have no idea that it's already ready to be sent because I was going to call you and see and get some type of insight on how I could break into touring. And before I could even hang up the phone, I sent my resume. And to this day, he always says, I mean, you kind of got the job because you were just fast. You sent me your resume first. It was just lined up. That's how it was supposed to be. Yeah,
it was meant to be. Oh my gosh, that is wild.
Management hit me about going to meet with her producer, Nate Wonder. Yeah, I had like a 7-minute interview, but then 2 hours later, I was still there because Janelle had cooked and they just want to see what type of person you are. So
yeah, they want to hang out with you. They want to hang with you, get to know you.
That's what it was. Like we literally talked about work for 7 minutes. And that was another confirmation for me as far as the degree, the vocal degree, because that was something that really stuck out to them. Because, you know, Janelle's music is really orchestral and you just got to know music to be able to handle it. That was something that really stuck out to them. And it was like, okay, well, rehearsal starts tomorrow. I was like, what?
Incredible. That
oh my God, incredible. Were you freaking out? I was stressed.
When I got in the car, I did. I played it cool in front of them. It's like, oh my God, rehearsals tomorrow. What do I do? I had never done it before. I had no idea what to do. I had no one to call either. Like, I didn't know anyone who toured. I just really prayed, y'all. I just kind of observed how the crew works, and it was a little pushback or, like side eyes because I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do because I just didn't know. I just kind of hopped in and tried to do what I knew to do and then just kind of learned along the way.
So with Janelle's gigs then, so you're at some stage you're getting comfortable with things and you're on tour, I guess. So what is the daily routine for, maybe if you're on a tour, not so much festival gigs, but what's your daily routine like as a sound engineer for Janelle Monáe for a gig?
Well, prior to having an A2, I would, you wake up, whatever load in time is, maybe 10 a.m. Load in, which is get everything off the trailer into the venue, into their respective areas, from audio, backline, lights, merch, whatever else production needs, who is like production manager and tour manager. And then for me, I get all my cases in front of house. Usually when you get to a venue, there's the venue person. So they'll just show me where I should set up, which has been confirmed prior to in the advance. But sometimes when you get places, they try to play you and be like, oh, no, you can't do that. And I'm like, nope, here's an email. This is where I'm going.
It's written down.
Right. So I just get my stuff in place. I have the hands or the tech help me tip my console, and I build it my work area. That's the thing about touring too. You kind of have to create your work area every day. Well, build it every day. So I tip my console, set up everything, my shout box, run cables that I need, have someone run the snake from me to monitor the world. And once I get all that set up, I would go to stage to start miking my drums and just running cables and setting up stage boxes to run everything. I still like to mic my drums, though, even now that I have an A2. But prior to, I didn't have an A2. So I would have to set out, me and Tony, who's Janelle's monitor engineer, would set out everything on stage boxes. He would run the cables from Monitor World to the stage boxes. And I know setting up Monitor World and everything takes a little bit more. So I would kind of take the initiative on getting the stage ready, building mic stands, putting mics on the mic stands, all of that you are responsible for if you don't have an A2, which is why I asked for one.
Exactly.
That's a lot of work.
That's a lot.
It was a lot of times. And again, I didn't know. So I wasn't tuning my PA because I'm like, I didn't know I was supposed to do that.
Oh, shit. Oh, how stressful. So when did you work that at? How far in?
It was a good bit into the tour. When I started getting a little notoriety and meeting other professionals, I just started picking their brains. What do I do? How do I get better? How can I make this better? How can I make my processes better? So, yeah, this is how I did it.
For those who may not be aware, you're in a different room every time, and the room it has different sounds because it's like a different space. There's different walls or whatever. So every different room is going to be different. The amount of people. And so you're obviously having to tune the PA to match the room.
Exactly.
And the way you do that is you pick 2 or 3 songs consistently, right? That you play through front of house. Isn't that how you do it?
Yep. Exactly what I
so
do.
that it's consistent, right? Because you then you have the same.
I know what those sounds sound like. Right, I know what this song sounds like, so I'm going to listen to it through the PA and get it to sounding how it's supposed to sound. Depending on what tour I'm on, I have one static song, which is Mayor Hawthorne, her favorite song, but the Oliver remix. That's just my base to just listen to the PA. But after I play that, it just depends on what tour I'm on, what songs follow that for me to actually get the PA sounding what I'm saying. Because to me, it doesn't make sense to tune to rock music, and that's not what I'm mixing.
Yes, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah, I get that it gives me what I need to get the PA, but at the same time, that's why I listen to the Oliver remix, because that is a solid song to just get your PA overall sounding good. Her show does run the gamut, so I may play some rock because the very last song is Come Alive, and it is definitely a rock song. So I need to make sure sure that this guitar is gonna cut through, do what it's supposed to do. So with Janelle is a little different, but it's still mainly soul music. So I just kind of make sure that I get everything through the PA that I need in deciding on what songs to use to tune. Now I multi-track every show. So I do a virtual sound check, which is so helpful.
Wow, that's great.
My other question then is, for festivals, you obviously can't tune a PA. I mean, because it's like you go on after every other band, right? Or is there a way to tune it? I'm not quite sure, like at that level, like how you do sound for that. Like, because aren't you just mixing on like whatever board is there?
Well, with Janelle, Jeff is very good at fighting for what we need. So I usually have the console that I want.
That you use.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's a fight for sure, but we usually win that fight. But at the same time, even though I have the console, because we fought for the console, we may not get a sound check, or it's just kind of a give and take. It honestly depends on the festival. Some festivals, this last festival run, like last year, was pretty cool. We got mostly sound checks, but a lot of times our schedule was kind of packed, so we didn't even make it in time to get a sound check sometimes. So I would sometimes advance like a small PA or something at front of house, so I can at least get some type of similar sibilants of what it will sound like, or I'll just trust the gut and not have to, do a line check and open a PA. It's like, okay,
do it. Yeah.
Yeah, because the problem with festivals is you've got back-to-back bands, so there's not a lot of time in between, and you just don't have that luxury of doing the whole day setting up. It's pretty much just off you go and wing it.
A lot of times it's a sound ordinance too, where I can't make noise. So I just choose a previous show to pull up on a console that I know, ended well or went well, and I just pray and we go for it.
Well, it's been working for you so far.
I was going to say, sounds like it's been working, so you're good. I wanted to ask you, because I just remembered, did you do Lollapalooza last year with Janelle Monáe?
Yes.
Okay. I was there. I was playing with an artist. So was that one of those gigs that you guys like just flew into and did? Or how was that ordeal for you?
I don't think we got a sound check for Lollapalooza. And that was kind of a crazy show for me too. No, we got a sound check. We did.
Oh, you did?
Because that was one of the festivals that we were before Childish Gambino. He was on the same kind of festival run and headlining those festivals. His front of house engineer is a good friend of mine too, Kevin Brown. So, and that's the thing too, like relationships. If you're cool with like the headliner front of house and you trying to get some time to get a sound check or something, that works out in your favor, because you know what I mean? Because they'll just look out and be like, yeah, it's cool. Like we get it.
It's all about relationships, honestly, in the industry. It is so true because even for front of house, even anyone in the industry, if you're friends with the other bands, because the headlining bands sometimes can be, it's their show, and they'll take whatever they can to make sure that their show goes well, and not look out maybe for the direct support or anyone else playing the event. But if you're friends with them, they'll be like, oh shit, yeah, no, you can do what you need. What do you need? How do I help you?
Right. That worked out for me like on a number of occasions with Kevin, because we did Coachella too, and when he was headlining Coachella, we were right before him, and I did not get a sound check the first week of Coachella on the main stage. Coachella.
Oh my god! No sound check, just a line check.
Well, we had time allotted for a sound check, but so much was going on stage, our time ran out, so I didn't get a sound check.
No. Oh my god, that is just unbelievable.
Oh my god.
I was so stressed too, because I was with Ella at Coachella at the same time, and our sound checks were at the same time, so I had to like split my time. I literally ran like a football field from Ella's sound check to Janelle's, and then I get there and don't even get a sound. I was kind of stressed.
Just another moment where you're praying and hoping all goes well, but it sounds like it must have, because you're still here.
It was such a great show. Like that was a really career moment for me. Like, okay, you do this, like a professional moment for me, because it's like main stage Coachella. I did not have a sound check, and I opened that PA, and it was like great. Like we were jamming.
And you're like, this sounds amazing. I did it again.
Wow, that's really cool. You've been on tour, you've been to festivals, but you've also done the sound for Janelle at the Oscars. tell us about that day for you, or even when you were told, you must have been pretty excited about
Oh yeah, it was like the Oscars. What? We're doing what?
I'll be like, what?
Yeah. And there's been a lot of moments with Janelle though. Like we did the White House, the Obama administration on 4th of July, and it's like, what?
That's probably bigger than the Oscars.
In my mind, yes.
In my head, I think that's bigger than the Oscars. I'd be like, going to the White House to see Obama? Oh my God.
Especially being like a Black woman. They're like Black royalty. And it's 4th of July. Like what a American, like what a
wow.
It's like a form of reparation. Yeah, we are in here, Black, at the White House.
I bet you got to do a sound check for that one.
Yeah, that was a whole deal too. Like it was supposed to be on the South Lawn. It started raining, so we had to move it in. Like it was a whole thing. But the Oscars was wild. I mean, it's the Oscars, and it has to be a huge production. So rehearsal for that was about a month and a half. Yeah, just making sure we get everything right. And then we went into Capitol Studios to make sure to record some things, and I get to meet. And this year was the first year they had like 2 women producers, and one of them was a Black woman from like New Orleans. So to get to meet them and talk to them in Capitol Studios, it was just like mind blowing. That's why I'm like, I could never think this up for myself. Like this is all God. And so did the recordings at Capitol, and then I even got a chance to sit in, with mixing the things that we were going to pre-record for that. It just was an amazing experience to have a say-so in something so huge. It's like one of the top 3 of biggest audiences that watch the Oscars. So yeah, to be a part of that and have a hand in that is crazy. And the performance, the choreography and everything actually got nominated for an Emmy. But yeah, a lot of times when we do those TV shows, it's union, of course, so I don't actually get to touch the faders. But for some reason, and again, I can't think this up for myself whenever we do TV stuff, because Janelle's music is so unique and tracks and stuff. Most of the time, the guys let me mix the tracks. Like I'm actually touching the faders, and I do a lot of delay throws and everything, especially on the song that she performed on the Oscars. So they're like, just go ahead. It's just too much for me to direct them and tell them to do. So yeah, like the Oscars was something that I actually had my hands on that went out to broadcast, and I have no words to explain what that feels like. That experience is just amazing to be able to say I did that. I watched it back a few times and was like crying.
Wow.
And you're there all day because you have to do rehearsal, you do dress rehearsals, regular rehearsals, and then all this stuff to make sure you get it right. And yeah, then that moment comes and you go. So that's why I'm so grateful for Janelle being my first gig, because that's just the nature of a lot of her things. You just gotta get in there and do it. And I just feel like with being on this gig, I can do anything, yo.
Sounds it's
been crazy.
Yeah, amazing. I'm so excited that you've had such an amazing career. You've just had a really great career so far.
I know, and I feel like I've just gotten started, and I still feel like I have such a long way to go and so much to learn. I don't know, I think that's just something personally in me, is I always feel like behind for some reason. So it's like I need to do this, I need to be working, and the way I learn I have to do. So now that like COVID has happened and I can't do shows, I really feel behind because I haven't been able to do and able to learn. But I have been blessed. Like I do have a church gig here in Memphis, and I'm part of the audio team of recording for the virtual services and getting that done. So
amazing. This has been so great, just chatting and learning about how you got to where you are today. You're doing extremely well. And like I said, it sounds like we could throw you into anything. So we're going to throw you into a quiz right now.
Oh, God.
Now let's really see if you're good at anything.
Amanda just hangs up. We're like, oh, we just lost her. She's like, nope, done with the interview. Sorry. All right. Well, don't worry. Like we said, this is very easy. We're just going to quiz you on things that you like so people can get to know a little bit about you. So I'm going to go ahead and just ask you this first question right off the bat. First question is, dogs or cats?
Oh, dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're dog lovers, so you
got answer number one right.
Let's see if you get the second question right. Whiskey or vodka?
There you go.
Yeah. Okay, that was the right answer.
Which
for
whiskey?
me,
Like,
anyway.
what's your go-to?
Maker's Mark.
Ooh, love a good maker. Love the bourbon.
I like bourbon. I like the is it Bullet or Boulet?
Bullet is a great bourbon.
Yeah.
I've got a whiskey you've got to try. It's called, and we're not sponsored by them or anything, it's called BRENNE.
Oh, okay.
It's beautiful. One of our listeners, Kate, bought it for us. So it's
I have to like watch it. As I've gotten older, my body is like, girl, we cannot take this liquor.
I get it. I totally get it.
That's why I drink whiskey water, so there's a little hydration with it.
Oh, man. All right. So far, you're doing great. You're 100% on the quiz. Number 3, beach or snow?
Beach, for sure.
Beach
Jesus.
girl.
Right.
All right. Well, that
you got that one wrong, but it's okay.
I went to school in Chicago, so I am not trying to deal with
Yeah, actually, we've had that with a few people who've grown up in cities that have snow. They're like, definitely not the snow.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, the snow.
To us, we think it's cute because we didn't live in it.
Oh, no.
Jess is from Arizona. No. This one is headline or opener. I guess doing sound for a headliner or an opener.
Headline.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely easy.
Yeah.
I mean, because I feel like for sound engineers, it's like, for sure as a headline, you'll get a sound check.
Right.
Exactly. It's way different because we were saying like as an artist there are benefits to both, but I don't think there are benefits
sound for an opener.
As a
sound
engineer.
Have some sound engineers who are like, I love the pressure, give me the opener, but that's not me.
Yeah.
Nah.
All right. So then we're on our last question. Okay. What is on your rider?
I laugh because anyone who's going to listen to this is going to be like, already knows the answer to it. Fruit snacks.
Fruit snacks.
Oh.
That's like what you want. That's what you request to have on the rider.
I need fruit snacks. Yeah.
Oh my God. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Definitely need to be eating. You can't be hungry and doing.
For like before a show, I go get my fruit snacks for my snack during the show or.
Yeah, that's a good one. And do you request anything else? Like, do you put like whiskey on there, or is it kind of like everyone just has whatever is there?
They just kind of have whatever's there. It depends. Like the Janelle crew are whiskey drinkers anyway, so I know it's gonna be there. I don't have to request it. And Tegan and Sara like Bullet too, so it's usually around. So I have necessarily have to.
So you don't need to bring a hip fly.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, definitely like fruit snacks.
What about your tech rider?
I need SD12 and I carry my own Wave server and everything, so that's what I need. And if I can't carry my own Wave setup, I need a Wave server and definitely the 2500 on my left right.
I'm going to pretend I know what all that was.
There you go. Oh, wait, I have a question from our producer. Favorite soundboard? I don't think you've answered that yet, but if you have, but what is your favorite soundboard?
I don't know if this is my favorite or I just prefer the Digico SD12.
Perfect. Again, I'm
we'll
going to pretend I know what that is.
when he's editing, he'll go, oh, yes, blah, blah, blah.
Well, Amanda, thank you so much for doing this with us and for opening up and sharing all of your experiences and your knowledge with us. For everyone out there who maybe wants to find you or just follow what you're up to, do you have like a website or social media, anything that you use that people can just kind of follow you on?
The only social media I have is Instagram, and it's the THEE Amanda Renae. Renae is RENEE.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Yeah, we will tag you. And for all those future sound engineers that have any questions, then they know how to find you.
Thanks so much, Amanda. I love you. Thank you. You're an inspiration. And we're so excited that you came on the show. Thanks for all your time.
No, thank you. You're welcome.